Karate is popular worldwide. Practitioners are in the millions. Trained in different forms of martial arts, but karate is his favorite.
Karate demands a great deal of your stamina and your ability to resist assault. It also requires a stoic attitude. It's about the spirit. Speed, frequency, and power. It's amazing.
Ao Kam Tong worked as a Kung Fu magazine reporter before. He's familiar with different schools and practices of martial arts and their origins. He knew that karate has been attributed to White Crane.
I've not delved into it much, but to go back to its origin, I know that karate is closely related to Fujian Chuan, or White Crane. Their lineage may not have been determined, but many karate masters did go to China to find their roots, discovering the kind of boxing their own master had studied in China and brought it back to Japan.
Han Chuk Keen is Ao Kam Tong's junior. He has won many karate and sanda tournaments.
I've known you for years. How many karate tournaments have you been in? 4, and won twice in a row. He's muscular. In terms of explosive power, he's one of the top in this martial arts center. Crane, Fujian White Crane.
To understand Fujian White Crane, Ao Kam Tong and his junior Akin try to look for exponents of White Crane in Hong Kong. White Crane came from Yongchun in Fujian. In the 80s, there was a Yongchun White Crane boxing club in Hong Kong. Now it's closed.
That's a factory.
In Hong Kong's Kung Fu circle today, Yongchun White Crane has a very low profile.
Hi. You're here. It's in there. Uncle Kong, they're here.
Master, how are you?
Good.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Master Lee Kong. His disciples call him Uncle Kong.
Uncle Kong.
Train on your own first.
Years after the Yongchun White Crane Boxing Club was closed, Uncle Kong started using his company's warehouse to teach boxing. There are over 10 students. Many of them have studied karate. Uncle Kong has organized Chinese martial arts contests and is knowledgeable in Chinese and Western boxing. He's outspoken in his writing on Kung Fu and known as the Iron Pen of the martial arts world.
Is Fujian White Crane similar to the southern boxing style in Guangdong? Do they have similar origins?
Yes. Some say it comes from Fujian, southern Shaolin. They both belong to the type of boxing that comes from southern Shaolin. The founder of White Crane is Feng Qinyang, a woman. We stress fast movement sideways. White Crane demands light and graceful footwork. It's created by a woman, so it's not rigid and hard. There are a few central attack moves. It mainly concentrates on short, fast power and jolting power.
And if I want to learn, how do I start?
Practice Sanjan.
Oh, Sanjan, so it's... we do karate. It's called Sanchin in karate.
Yes, it's written the same.
There are many karate schools, but Sanchin is very important in all of them. The footwork is Sanchin steps. Did karate come directly from White Crane? I've not seen Fujian White Crane Sanzan. Can we have a demonstration?
Okay. Sanjan includes everything in White Crane. For example, stabbing, wrist rotating, elbow sinking, and palm flipping. Practice until you're skilled in them. You also need to train in waist and stance power. And to vocalize, not from the throat, but from the pubic region. We vocalize like this. Not like from the throat. That's not acceptable to us. Train your internal organs so when you expel air, it is not with force. We talk about qi li. You have to have qi to increase speed, to give it power. If you practice Sanjan well, you'll have no trouble learning other kung fu or routines.
Its style, hand methods, footwork, and breathing are very similar to Sanshin in karate. They have the same lineage.
They should be related.
White Crane is one of the 5 Fujian Southern Shaolin boxing traditions. Legend has it that the founder Fang Qinyang's father, Fang Zhong, was a Shaolin disciple. White Crane began at Qing Dynasty. The movements are a balance of softness and hardness. Maritime traffic began early in Fujian, bringing White Crane with it.
Yongchun White Crane in the Fujian dialect is Bu Shao Ya La Lun, which means, though not hot, it's still quite warm. Practitioners of Yongchun White Crane may not be consummate masters, but they're still masters.
When I watched the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu films in the past, I thought with White Crane you must do this. How come White Crane doesn't have this?
There is something similar. This is what it should be. This is like a crane pecking. Whether the attack is a hook or straight fist, you peck like this.
Not like this?
Not like this, yeah. In traditional Kung Fu, you go all out in a fight. It's about an ultimate move to take the opponent down. To be negative, I would say White Crane is more devious and vicious. It targets eye, throat, underarm, and below the ribs.
Here.
Right, these points. One slap and hit, like this. You do the stance, I hit twice.
You want to try?
Oh, no thanks.
This is crane spreading wings.
Oh.
Hold out your arm firmly.
Keep your arm firm.
One slap, you moved, and I have an opening to attack. In boxing, when you want speed, this is how you do it.
After learning about Yongchun White Crane, Ao Kam Tong and his junior Akin decide to spar with Uncle Kong's students.
Thank you. He was fast. I realized that right away. On his feet in close combat. He came in like a flash. Sometimes high, sometimes low. My senior could do it all. Have your hand higher. Right. Higher. You learned it here before. Yeah, flick your hand. Put the pressure on him. Disengage. Time's up.
I've not come across this before. I've no idea it would be so intense. There were moves that went for my groin and my eyes. I wasn't expecting anything like that. Normally, we don't do that.
I've known about Yongchun White Crane or Fujian White Crane for a long time. I've always wondered if karate came from these two boxing systems. I've come to realize that they're closely linked. Everyone is practicing avidly in this cramped space. I can feel the passion. I can totally appreciate their zeal.
In a contest of pure strength, I always beat my opponent.
At last you found your match. No. I gotta make tea.
Right.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
Master Kong's students Kit and Ho are Goju Ryu karate coaches. At first they studied White Crane because they wanted to find the origin of karate.
This side. Sweep him. According to the history of karate, it came from Okinawa, but originated from Fujian. They're closely related. Take, for example, Sanjan.
Sanjan. It has the same name and the same breathing method as White Crane.
Revolving hands?
Revolving hands, that is Tensho.
Correct.
It has an obvious White Crane feel. We want to trace its roots to find its original flavor.
Yongchun, Fujian is the home of Fujian White Crane. 370 years ago, this was where Fang Qinyang taught White Crane. Master Su Yinghan is an expert in the study of Yongchun White Crane. He teaches boxing and also studies the history of White Crane. He's proofread and published many manuals and books on ancient boxing systems.
This is a duplicate copy of the ancient boxing manual, White Crane Immortal Boxing Techniques.
The original was from how many years ago?
The original was from 100 or 200 years ago.
Oh, I see.
It would be in pieces now. This is in Yongchun Minnan dialect. Every move is well written.
In the past, boxing manuals were handwritten. Only the master's most trusted disciple was allowed to handle the manual.
It was extremely hard to get hold of a copy, unless you were the master's designated successor, or his favorite student. It was the only way it got passed down. Otherwise, it was impossible to get a copy just to read. Students must revere the memorial tablet. They must not be slack in paying respect.
The statue of Fang Qinyang has a shuttle in its left hand. Her right hand is in a White Crane preparation pose, Jiaoyang hand. According to an ancient boxing manual, Fang Qinyang was weaving when she saw a White Crane, which was the incarnation of the White Crane Immortal. Inspired by its agile stance and posture, she created White Crane boxing by incorporating Shaolin techniques. During Kangxi's reign in the Qing dynasty, Fang Qinyang and her husband Zheng Si came to Yongchun. They stayed at the Gu family's mansion to teach boxing. The Gu family's ancestral hall could be where Fang Qinyang taught boxing.
Yongchun is about technique.
Yes.
It's very good in combat.
Yongchun was known for its martial techniques. It was in the Ming Dynasty annals.
White Crane neck hold. Your hand should be like this. Use quick, short power. You need a spin, circular spin.
The basic hand methods of White Crane are similar everywhere, but the training methods may vary. Different masters have different interpretations. The way they were passed down would also make them different.
When old masters paid a martial arts center a visit, this is what they did with a cup of tea in hand. You come over. Thanks. His hand was already on you. You must keep this up.
I must drink the tea. I'd say, no. I drink the tea. No. The blades have been sharpened. This weapon was made 150 years ago in the Qing dynasty.
There are a lot of wild boars in the hills in Yongchun. You could use it to hunt or for defense. over the head. Throw it over the head and stab with a knife. Firearms in the old days used loose pellets. You could shield them off.
Even with Western firearms?
If not, throw a cotton quilt soaked in water over it.
Oh, I see.
A cotton quilt with water.
Martial arts came from an agricultural society. They used readily available farming implements as weapons.
This was what farmers used for pitching hay. You would pitch hay with it. They improved on this farming implement by adding barbed hooks and nails to restrain the opponent's weapon. It was lethal. You could hook or hold the opponent with the tine. You could reverse the direction of the fight. You could use it like holding a staff. This was perfect for fighting tigers or other ferocious wild animals.
Huanggongxi Martial Gym was a famous Yongchun White Crane Center. As early as 1928, a group of masters from the center were invited to Southeast Asia to teach boxing in that area. The center has kept the traditional white crane techniques. It stresses basic training.
His bridge arm is thick and rounded. In Kung Fu training, it's important to have a firm bridge arm. If you have a firm bridge arm, when you spar, you can at least fend off the attacks.
Normally, when I spar with others, they lose. Now I feel differently about sparring.
At least you found your match.
Right.
Don't let the master's age fool you. He's healthy and strong. His strength and horse stance really gets its power from the ground up. Though we come from the same school, their training is different from ours. They have great power. Their shoulders are firm and thick. It means they've put in a lot of work.
White crane started in Yongchun and spread to Fuzhou. Based on the different states of the white crane, it was developed into 4 branches: flying crane, crying crane, sleeping crane, and feeding crane. Master Yu Danqiu belongs to the lineage of crying crane master Xie Chongxiang. Some Goju Ryo karate masters from Okinawa had come here to acknowledge their ancestry. The founder of Goju Ryo karate, Kanryo Higaonna, came to Fuzhou to study martial arts in 1877. A monument outside the Fuzhou Gymnasium recorded that Ryo-Ryo-Ko, Kanryo Higaonna's master, was crying crane grandmaster Xie Chongxiang.
They use the same weapons as us. The names of their routines and the moves were the same. Their boxing manual was the same. So what they learned was mostly crying crane techniques. The moves, breathing, and horse stance were the same.
Right.
A characteristic of crying crane is deep breathing, using the diaphragm to vocalize. It uses qi to produce power. It is able to release qi power at any point in combat. Crying crane uses the strength from the pubic region to suck in qi. It sounds like the cry of a crane.
We have the same experience in training. When you deliver a punch, it's powerful. Anyone can do that. But on the return, you feel you have just lost the power.
Oh.
You must breathe, but it's from the pubic region, using the diaphragm. It can be released in one go. And grit your teeth.
That's very loud.
Generally, there is no specific training in that. It's not easy to train. Make it cry.
Wow.
Practice more.
Train your wrist strength. Turn the wrist. Oh, this is good.
Yes.
I heard they have used these tools in Japan, too.
Yes, they have. Master, what is this?
This is a stone lock. That is bracelet.
When I train in White Crane, I've got to be in a horse stance when I push out. On the return, I let it sink, pressing the power back to the pubic region. If you use only your arms, you won't be able to sustain it. Let it sink. Use deep breathing from the pubic region to push up. It's like exercises in using the pubic region to generate power.
This sandbag is a special training tool for crying crane. It will not spin. It will not swing or spin. The whole thing, you see, is like a human torso.
Use short bouncing power. Release the power fast and the sandbag will be pushed away. You have to step back too. The power is more intense if you strike the incoming sandbag.
Hit with this.
After a few hits, my hands are hot.
Hot already.
They're red and hot.
The Crane Nest Monastery in Fuzhou was built in the Tang Dynasty. The White Crane Immortal is worshipped there. Some karate practitioners see it as their ancestral home because the founding master of Crying Crane, Pan Yu-ba, once trained here.
We're sparring to learn from each other, so pull back once you've made contact.
They have poncho. Their shoulders are loose, but there's power in their attack. I used my foot. I went for his lower body. However, he fended it all off. He's very skilled. He has quick footwork, too.
They have quick reactions, especially the last push. They use the waist and hip power from their stance. I've seen them train with the sandbag. It's the power from their sandbag training. It came from the ground into their hands and then onto us, so we were bounced off 2 or 3 steps away.
Crying Crane should be the origin of karate.
To discover the truth about Ryu Ko and the master of Kanryu Higaonna, the 2 martial artists Keaton Ho have come personally to Fuzhou to pay a courtesy visit to the descendants of Crying Crane master Xie Chongxiang. Crying Crane's founding master Pan Yu-ba was originally a student of monk fist boxing. He later became a student of the White Crane School. Consequently, he created Crying Crane. So Crying Crane is White Crane mixed with some monk fist boxing's hand methods, like this 28 constellations routine.
I would say that the 28 steps you demonstrated is the same as Fuzhou's 28 constellations. There are some variations. On the whole, it looks like Crying Crane's 28 constellations routine.
The purpose of our trip is to find the link between karate and Crying Crane. We saw 5 of their routines. 2 show a relationship. San Chin and Goju Ryu is similar to their Ba Bu Lian. The 28-step Ni Pai Po you mentioned, which school does it belong
Ni Pai
to?
Po. As far as I know, it belongs to Shito-Ryu Karate. The routines of Crying Crane and Goju-Ryu Karate are not always similar. It's sometimes more like Shito-Ryu Karate. Their founding masters came to Fuzhou to study Crying Crane's 28 constellations. Its pronunciation in Japanese is similar to that in the Fujian dialect. Crying Crane should be the origin of karate. It was then passed down to different schools.
Okinawa and Fuzhou are friendly twin cities. There has long been trade and traffic between their people. Okinawa was once called Ryukyu. It's a tributary country of Imperial China. It was deeply influenced by Chinese culture. Okinawans traveling by boat to China would choose to disembark at Fuzhou. Kanryu Higaonna was no exception. He went to Fuzhou to study martial arts with Ryu Ko. Some say he returned to Okinawa after 15 years and developed Chinese Kung Fu into today's karate. After over 100 years, the Goju Ryu dojos in Okinawa have kept the most traditional Chinese Kung Fu training.
The main purpose of this visit to Okinawa is to go to the famous Goju Ryu headquarters to visit Master Morio Higaonna. We're so pleased and honored that he will personally instruct us to let us experience firsthand traditional karate training.
In the dojo, there are pictures of the Grandmaster Kanryo Higaonna and his pupil and founder of Goju Ryu Karate, Chojun Miyagi. The head of the center is Morio Higaonna. He is 74 years old. He is the third-generation disciple of Kanryo Higaonna.
Stone hammer is a very ancient training tool. It's hard to find, even in China. It appears to be for training wrist power, but it's not. There are points to watch. For example, in forward and backward movements and horse stance, when you put it down or pick it up, your arm must be straight. The power should be focused here. The power you hold tight here is the same power when you deliver a punch. There are also the wrist turns. Left, right, front, and back. It's training in rotation and explosive power. We're being reckless here. We want to try the heaviest one and see if you can do it. No, I can't.
Don't force it.
Be careful.
No way. I can't swing it up.
The Sanshin pot. Try to train yourself by holding the pot. Like tiger's claws. Tiger claws.
The Sanshin pot is for training the power in your fingers. For example, your grip for grasping throat or twisting joints. This is the footwork of Sanshin steps. You use Sanshin steps throughout the routine. Apart from the gripping power of the fingers, a lot is demanded in the forearms too. His hands are extended slightly forward. His torso is straight. Apart from training the grip of your fingers and the strength of the forearm, the shoulder blade muscles are also very developed.
The Higaonna dojo stresses traditional routines and training. For 80% of the time, the students practice basic training. Morio Higaonna feels that there must be good reasons for the ancestors to pass the methods down to us, so he won't change them easily.
I'm used to tough training, but to train like this, to pound on stones. Look, the skin is pushed in, it's rigid. I only had two choices just now. I could give up and cry pain, or I could hang on. Having gone through this, I know I can take it. It's very painful. This was Chojun Miyagi at 18?
Chojun Miyagi was the founder of Goju Ryu Karate. He named the school Goju Ryu, Hard and Soft School, based on the line in the White Crane boxing manual, Wu Bei Ji. The way of inhaling and exhaling is hardness and softness.
Sensei Chojun Miyagi bought this copy of Wu Bei Ji at a high price in China. Boxing manuals were usually kept within the lineage. This book is rich in information. There's iron sand hand method, white ape hand, black tiger hand, and white crane hand. When Morio Higaonna sensei went to China in the 80s, he demonstrated karate to the Chinese kung fu masters. Chinese martial arts masters felt that karate included tiger claw, white crane, and monk fist boxing.
In 1915, Kanryo Higaonna sent Chojun Miyagi to China to look for his master, Ryu Ko. But when Chojun Miyagi reached China, he was told Ryu Ko was dead.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
The curator of Okinawa Karate Museum, Master Hokama, is himself a historian. He wrote many books on the history of karate. The museum has collected a wealth of material and relics on karate.
This is a secret Chinese karate book, Bubishi. He was a very high-ranking god. He was in this pose.
There's a picture of this deity in Bubishi, Marshal Tiandu of the Palace of Wind and Fire in the Nine Heavens. But this is uncommon in dojos. He came from China. I've never seen him in China or in Hong Kong.
He's my ancestral master, Master Kanryo Higaonna's master. Ruru Ko, Xie Chongshan. My friends and my master thought Xie Chongshan was Ruru Ko. I believe so too. But it's still a mystery. There are still two schools of thought, Ruru Ko and Xie Chongshan. I believe they were one and the same. He should be. Even now, there are masters in Okinawa who believe they were two different men. Some think they were the same man. There is no consensus.
I was told Ryu Ko was a guard. He was about 40 years old, tall with powerful foot movements. Because of the civil wars, he went to many places and learned many different kung fu. He might have learned crying crane boxing. In the past, learning martial arts had to be done covertly. Kanryo Higaonna went to China because his father had been beaten to death. He wanted revenge. Because Kanryo Higaonna was illiterate, many things had not been passed down. What is the truth? Was the name Ryu Ko real? No one knows.
Xie Chongxiang died in 1930. Whether Ryu Ko was Xie Chongxiang is still being debated. Who was Ryu Ko? It's probably a puzzle that'll never be solved.
Feeding crane aims for an ultimate move to take down the opponent.
The power comes from within, not from the joints, but from within the muscles.
White crane was popular in Fujian. It spread to Taiwan a long time ago. Learning white crane is very common in Taiwan. They have preserved a ferocious branch of white crane that had been lost in China, feeding crane.
Master Lau,
You're here.
we're here. How are you?
How are you?
Master Liu Changyi is a disciple of feeding crane in Tainan. He was the martial arts coach in the Tainan Police Reserve. Besides Taiwan, he also teaches in the States and Europe. His students include masters in karate, members of the FBI, and special forces.
Master Liu Changyi is someone who has been highly recommended by a fellow student of mine in karate. He said if I was to talk about white crane, I had to visit Master Liu Changyi in Taiwan because he was a very formidable master.
Master Liu's ancestors served under Zheng Qinggong. His family is highly regarded in Tainan. In the 20s, his grandfather paid Lin Deshun, a renowned feeding crane master, a high fee to come to Tainan to teach. Because his family was wealthy, they were able to devote all their time to train in feeding crane, so they preserved the feeding crane tradition in its purest form.
Use the palm. When I spar with someone, I don't see a person. Instead, I see my dinner. He used the word feed because it's about attack. In feeding crane, our inspiration came from our founder, the first-generation master, Fang Xinliang. She was a woman. A woman must put an opponent down fast and in one move. Cranes have wings. Our arms are our wings. They are very useful. In feeding crane, our concept is this. You may think there's one arm, but to us there are three. You hit and deflect me. When you deflect my forearm, I use my elbow to hit you. If you grab both my forearm and upper arm, you have my entire arm under control. So you think you've succeeded. And my left arm is not free either.
What will you do?
When this happens, we just retract and hit you with our shoulder. This. Retract the arm. He'll follow. When I retract my arm, his face will follow. We fight with our shoulders. So when my students spar in training, we train in this. We use the shoulders.
The shoulder is already bent back. If he uses force, it'll easily break.
Press down. If you touch my head, the shoulder will break.
I must let go then.
If you don't, you'll be in danger.
I can't help it.
Or like this.
Right.
This. Come on.
For example, excuse me.
Say if you have your hands round my neck, you have a stranglehold on my neck. Look, my hand presses down from either side. On both sides. 1, 2, 3. I press down on you like this. Make your arms rigid. I can't press down. If it's like this, then hit one arm. It's
Change
enough.
direction.
My body is like a door. It's a chance. My chance is here. You break down the door. The army is coming in. You ram the door. I shift to the side door.
Right at the beginning, as the opponent attacks, while deflecting the attack, he goes in for a kill. How can I put it to use? I tried a few moves. It's useful in close combat. It'll save my life.
When we deliver a punch, there are two moves. One is pull and hit. The other is twist and hit. Attack you. Twist and ram. During training, we demand that in terms of speed, you must be fast, ruthless, and precise. Instant kill. In the shortest possible time. The concept is to take the opponent down in the least possible time. Once you get used to doing this, when your hand comes at me, as soon as I touch you, twist. Yes, twist. You must twist. When you're twisting, you must also grab. Right. Then a direct ram. Right.
Is this how you pull? And stop. Lock.
Right.
Years ago, when I was learning self-defense, if someone grabs your neck, you press here. Then you crouch to release. It takes less strength. It uses the principle of mechanics. It doesn't need much power.
This is perfect for women. You press down when someone comes at you.
Doesn't need much power.
Just one strike.
Right.
It's really useful. If the master used his power on your arm just now, it would break.
He didn't hit the right place. It's on the side. But it makes no difference. It'd still break.
Feeding crane is about delivering quick and short power. When Master Liu delivers power, he makes a sound.
He astonished me. I've never seen anyone deliver power like that. His power comes from within. It's not from the joints, but from the muscles.
Having seen Master Liu's demonstration, the three martial artists want to experience the power of feeding crane in combat.
We've just had a very brief lesson with Master Liu. This senior was able to use the techniques. I attacked him from the front. He shifted his balance. Not only was I unable to hit him, he was able to shove me away. Thanks. My only advantage is I'm taller and heavier. I used my weight to press him. But as I started the attack at the wrong place, he could easily defuse it.
The exercise showed me that they're invading the opponent's stance by including movements that hit from above and below. Exercises in feeding crane include winding hands and free fighting. It is quite comprehensive.
Lighter, lighter. Use your palm.
It's hard to get close. The opponent kept pressing toward me to deliver a lethal blow to stop me from fighting back.
What I now know is exactly the same as what Lin De Shun taught my grandfather 100 years ago. You could say on me the old training process has not been lost. It's still very traditional and authentic.
I'm very happy to have taken part in this episode of Kung Fu Quest on Yongchun White Crane to find the relationship between karate and White Crane. Although we're not able to verify the true history, we've interviewed a few representative masters of their schools. We've learned a lot of techniques. Usually people keep asking whether these Kung Fu skills can be used in real combat, but it's pointless. Master Liu Changyi kept reminding us that Kung Fu is not for contest, it's for self-defense. I appreciate very much how threatening White Crane boxing is.
No rule applies to all. We are all different. Different in character, body build, and attitude. You may say Kung Fu helps you to keep fit, but so do a number of other activities. You don't need to train in Kung Fu. Foreigners like Kung Fu. They approach it as culture, as an art. They try to understand it scientifically. This is not how we ourselves approach it. If you want to learn and is determined, I'll teach you. But I can't make sure you'll continue to train. What you've learned, trained, received is yours. Everyone is different. 3 students will fight in 3 different ways. Each will have his own style. This is your own Kung Fu. This is the way to go for traditional Kung Fu.